lots of different people. And that's why we have multiple people sharing about different topics where we get different opinions, because everybody's journey is different. Everyone's priorities are different. Everyone's goals are different.
We've all seen a lot of Chai and coaching videos. I'm here today in Dallas, Texas, to interview the person behind the videos, Rob Adams, and learn from his cross-cultural journey working abroad. So let's see what we can learn and how you can benefit in your cross-cultural journey as well.
All right, so this is all yours, so I'm going to let you take it away.
Cool, yeah. One of the biggest questions I had, Rob, was whenever people look at any videos, or especially Chai and coaching videos about like study abroad, what you got to do and things like that, a lot of those videos might come across initially as prescriptive, right? Here's what you got to do, and this and this and this. And oftentimes, people might begin to feel that their life is pretty much scripted if they follow these videos. I have come to know, or my interpretation of it is that you need a certain mindset to approach the content in it so you can interpret it in a way that is beneficial to you. So I'm interested to know from you, what kind of mindset should they carry while interpreting what you say and adapting it to what they want to do?
Yeah, so how to really make the most of the Chai and coaching content. I think it's really important to know that, again, your journey is your responsibility. And that with our channel, and there's lots of other great channels out there. I've got a lot of other friends who are YouTubers that put out great content. But in America, at least, you get what you pay for. So YouTube is free, which is going to tell you what the kind of content you're going to find on YouTube. At Chai and Coaching, we want to put the best things out there. But you really, can't expect the perfect expertise, hand-holding step by step. And that's why we interview lots of different people. And that's why we have multiple people sharing about different topics where we get different opinions, because everybody's journey is different. Everyone's priorities are different. Everyone's goals are different. So really, Chai and Coaching is a resource library, which is going to present lots of data points, lots of opinions, opportunities, lessons learned, mistakes, then you can use to put into your plans, your goals, and see if that's what's going to be helpful for you. Because you have to determine, what is your motivation? Why are you wanting to study abroad? Why are you wanting to work abroad? What is your goal? And then make your plan towards that goal. The worst thing you can do is copy and paste someone else's goal and copy and paste someone else's path. What Simon has done here in America, which is amazing, I've interviewed in his journey story before as well on the channel, is probably not going to be the same or best for a lot of you guys. So you have to know what you want to do and then take steps towards that. And our resources are going to help you decide what's best and then give a lot of guidance along the way. But yeah, like Simon said, it's not prescriptive. It's not do this, do this, do this. It's, hey, consider these things, be aware of these things, and here's why you can do those things better. And I really think that's what our resources are going to help people do.
Yeah, that brings up a really good question about the level of experience that you come from, right? I oftentimes get this question about a person in Dallas telling what Indians coming here should do, right? And it's often, the match doesn't add up oftentimes, which is why I wanted to sort of go into your journey of, you said you lived in India, things like that. Like, first of all, what took you to India? How long were you there? How much do you know about, the Indian culture, or basically how immigrant Indians, the issues that immigrant Indians face, that you think you can help with through your content?
Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, people ask, why is this guy in America helping foreigners? What does he know? And that's a fair question. Like, what is his credibility? And I'm very blessed and lucky to have had lots of global experience. We've got this map here with pins. I've been to about 30 different countries around the world, not just in the airports, but visiting, traveling, vacationing, work, learning. So I've been very, very blessed with the opportunity to experience cultures, languages, people from all over the world. And so I love that. And whenever I travel, I really want to engage and integrate with the local culture and not just be a foreigner doing the foreigner touristy things. I want to do as the locals do. So that's really helped me in my life, even back in school when I traveled and after and during college and then working. And then when I worked in India, so what took me there is I studied petroleum engineering because I wanted to work all over the world. That's one of the best industries for international jobs. One of my summer internships was with ConocoPhillips, where I worked in the drilling group up there in Alaska. And everyone in my floor, in my department, had spent time working in other countries around the world. I'm like, that sounds awesome. Norway, Australia, Middle East, South America. I'm like, sign me up. But as I continued my journey in college, I had some big perspective changes in my life. Part of it was with my own spirituality and faith. Others just growing and learning in college, which happens to a lot of us. But really, I just learned that life isn't about how much money you can make. I think a lot of us chase these big salaries. And I was very successful in college with studies and leadership opportunities and my resume. And when I graduated, I had 6-figure job offers from oil companies. But something that changed in my head and my heart was that life isn't about how much money I can make or how great I can make myself. But life is more about the impact I can make from others, or life is more about the impact I can make on others, and also doing something I really enjoy. I think people chase money, but then end up doing something they're stuck at and hate doing and sacrifice a lot of their life for money, which really doesn't bring that much happiness. And when you die, you can't take it with you. So I care more about a legacy in my life than how much money I can accumulate for myself. And so that opened the door for me to think about other things than just going and taking my 6-figure salary after college with all these oil companies that were trying to recruit me. And I had a senior at my college who had gone to India, kind of working for this startup that was kind of a business consulting startup with an international focus. And I followed his journey in India. He was a senior of mine and thought, that looks pretty cool. And he knew my personality as someone who loves culture, loves to travel, is very adaptable, is a problem solver with my engineering brain. And so he's like, hey, Rob, you should really consider this. So he kind of recruited me and I began to think about it. I was like, okay, I'll do like a 1-year gap year, Mm-hmm. It was even a tough conversation with my parents saying, hey, you guys helped pay for this degree. I'm thinking of doing something else. Isn't going to earn as much, isn't this prestigious engineering job? But I remember having that conversation and, thankfully they were open to it, and just didn't force me to go take an engineering job. But it was a tough conversation. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go for 1 year to India.
You should probably start a coaching on how to have those conversations with your parents.
Yeah.
Because this is often a challenge that a lot of people face as well. But
it was a big pivot and it was a tough conversation, but I'm really glad I had that with my dad and he was open to me doing something different and trying it out. I really am thankful for that. But so I was like, I'm going to go to India for 1 year. I'm going to have the opportunity, have an adventure on the other side of the world with another culture. I'm going to get developed. I'm going to help grow a company. And then I'll come back and start my real job back in America. And I went to Hyderabad for a year. We did cross-cultural training. We had an accent reduction institute. We did some business consulting, helping Indian companies better communicate and connect with their international counterparts. And we had fun culture research projects we did as well with the universities. And during that year, it was crazy. It was fun, but I fell in love. And I was like, man, this was a lot more fun. The people are wonderful, the food, the festivals. And then after that year, again, I had open opportunities. I got recruited to stay in India. I had engineering jobs waiting for me back in America, but I was like, you know what? This is fun. I would much rather be interacting with people and coaching and training them than I would much rather working with people, doing coaching and training and helping them be more successful rather than sitting behind a computer, doing equations so that an oil company can make a lot of money. And so I was like, you know what? I should try this for longer. So that's when I joined our branch in Delhi, built that. That's where I got to know my wife, Melody, where eventually we would date and get engaged and married. And then we got launched out to Bangalore and was the director and started our branch there for our last several years. And then ended up spending 8 years in India, loving it, learning the culture, adding value to companies and people, and helping people understand soft skills, intercultural relationships, and becoming an expert on Indian culture myself as well.
I see. So I have to ask you, Rob, you started out as an engineer and then you pivoted out because you found your calling in working with people, bringing different cultures together and things like that, which is a great thing. I must ask you as an engineer, how much of an engineer is left in you now? Yeah.
I've lost a lot of the lingo. Petroleum engineering has its own language for sure. But I feel like the principles I learned in college are still invaluable. Problem solving, maximization, being resourceful, teamwork, and all that stuff is just as important with engineering as it is with consulting and coaching and training. So I feel like a lot of what I learned, I still use, just not the technical side of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of like US workplaces, right? And trust me, if someone would have told me or tried to sort of have a conversation with me about interpersonal dynamics in a workplace and things like that, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would probably have laughed them off because as an engineer, I'm preconditioned to thinking that the world works on like absolute logic, and there is no such thing as politics and things like that, right? So I'm curious to know, since in a lot of your videos, you also touch on interpersonal dynamics, building that rapport and things like that. Why is it that you think in the United States, it's much more, not valuable, but it's much more necessary to be good at interpersonal dynamics in a workplace than probably, let's say, in Germany or most other places in the world? There should be, my assumption is that there should be something about the culture here at the workplace or otherwise that gives importance to that interpersonal dynamics.
There's a big, again, this is a generality that I've observed between Western and Eastern cultures, which I love teaching about, and I train a lot of people in this cultural different stuff. But in the Western cultures, like mine as an American, we're very independent and individualistic. But when it comes to education and work, we're actually much more group and team oriented. In school, we work more together with others. And in work, it's all about working in teams. So people skills are really important. But in Eastern cultures, again, this is a generality, especially in Asia, those are much more communal cultures, harmonious, honor shame communal cultures. It's all about the relationships. But when it comes to education and work, it's much more individual because of the competition. It's every man for themselves. It's all about being that topper rank. It's all about the politics in the office that you can get an advantage. It's me versus them versus we're working together. So I think that's just an interesting difference between Western and Eastern cultures. Again, it's not the same everywhere. But so in America, in school and in work, we really value working as a team. There isn't just you in your cubicle working by yourself. You have to know how to talk. You want the people on your team to like you. You have to be able to communicate in a way that people understand. You have to be an initiative taker, a problem solver. And those are just things that aren't really taught in school. And so I really love teaching people the importance of how to develop those soft skills, those interpersonal skills in our videos, in our course, because that really makes or breaks your ability to thrive and succeed. And that's what helps you stand out from all the competition, especially in the job search.
As just an add-on to what you said, right? Like I've actually gone through several companies now in the US. It's not necessarily 100% true that the silos of politics do not exist. The silos of politics exist wherever humans exist, right? That's just the way it has been. But your ability to navigate the silos of politics kind of amplify if you have a certain sort of approach, a certain dynamic going on to build those relationships, not just to play the political game. It's not just about that. It's about like getting real work done also. You need to like be able to find, okay, what is it that people want? What is it that I want? How can I align my wants with what people want and what the company wants so that everyone can be successful? So I think a large portion of that dynamic is present. I mean, I had to rely on several workplaces to kind of teach me this along my journey. But then it's really impressive that like you're providing these cues, again, that people need to interpret for themselves and apply themselves. It's not just prescription and go behind. So that's
yeah. And like, for me, when I was in India, I really had to learn to do things the way Indians did. Business meetings were very different in India than in America. I had to learn how to adjust. Driving in India was very different. I had to learn how to adjust. And same if you're coming to America to work and to study, then you have to be willing to adjust. And in America, companies and recruiters really value soft skills, which means that you have to value soft skills as well.
Yeah, totally switching gears. Tell me about your general experience in India. Specifically, I'm interested to know what was your best and weirdest experiences when you were in India for those many years?
Yeah, have some pretty crazy stories. I hope maybe I can write a book about some of those someday when there's time and we don't have little kids. Some pretty fun memories. I love the mountains in the Himalayas. So one of my favorite trips our team took when we were in Hyderabad was a North India trip, and I planned it. So I love planning travel.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Delhi and Agra and saw the Taj Mahal, which is amazing and totally worth seeing. But then we went all the way up to Kulu Manali. As a kid, I spent several years living in Denver, Colorado, so I love mountains. So we went hiking, we went paragliding up in the mountains in the valley, and it was just amazing, beautiful, drinking tea, and, up there was just, I'm never going to forget that. Loved that trip. We traveled all over India, which was so much fun. I've been to about half the states in India. I'm very thankful for that. A crazy thing was one time we were up at language school near Mussoorie, and this was in 2010 when the Kumbh Mela was happening. So one weekend, me and my colleagues took a taxi down to Haridwar and visited the Kumbh Mela there at the Hari Ki Pari Ghat. Millions, crores of people there. Amazing experience.
Did you take a dip?
We actually took a dip in the Ganga, in the Ganges. Very cold. I know what that typically symbolizes in Hinduism, but it was just a fun thing to experience, And other times we'd gone rafting in Rishikesh up in the mountains and in the river. And we've had some really fun adventures traveling India, doing the boats on the backwaters in Kerala, the beaches in Goa, taking trains across India was always fun. I've been to Varanasi, seeing the Aarti there on the Ghats at night, which is beautiful and very sacred in India. Going to the tea plantations. So many fun things, and there's so many things I still want to do in India that I haven't done yet.
What's the weirdest part?
So maybe one of the hard things that I had to learn as an American that was tricky was bartering and negotiating. Especially in Delhi, with all the foreigners there's people that are selling stuff, hawkers, beggars, learning how to navigate with those things. And especially if you go to Connaught Place, and places like Janpath, Palika Bazaar, people are trying to sell you stuff, negotiate. And
the prices start at more than 300% of what you should pay.
Yeah. So when we were new, we got cheated all the time. I called it, we played the whitey tax, and way overpaid. But as I spent time, as I learned Hindi, I loved to learn how to negotiate. I would go down to Palika Bazaar with my friends, and my friends would be shocked that I'd get better prices than they could. So I learned how to be a great barterer, negotiator, but I also lost a lot at the beginning and had to learn the hard way how to negotiate and how that game works, because we just don't have that in our culture here in the West.
To be honest, living here for this much time, I think one of the underappreciated things that people don't really focus on is learning the art of negotiation. They think it's something negative, right? Which it is not. Negotiation is basically making sure that you get a deal that is fair to you, right? And if everyone in the system does that, then I think the world in general is a more fairer place.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people kind of get screwed when they are up for salary conversations and things like that. In fact, I experienced the reverse. I used to, I come from this heavy negotiation culture back in India. And then here I stopped negotiating, right? I was like, hey, people will be fair to me and that kind of thing in my earlier days. And I got ripped. And it was far into my journey that I realized that. So negotiation is a really important tool we need to learn across the board. It doesn't need to be about money. It can be about getting a project, or it can be about convincing some member of your team to see the same thing that you see, or not just the same thing, right? You entering a compromise where you go halfway, they come halfway. You need negotiation to do all of that.
Yeah.
And this is something that is heavily underappreciated. And this is basically leverage that we are leaving on the table. So that's one of the biggest things that I learned through my journey out here.
One funny thing I noticed is in India, the one thing you don't really negotiate for is a car. There's such demand that it's just, here's the fixed price, take it or leave it. There's the waiting periods. But in America, the one thing you actually can negotiate for is a car. So it's just funny how those are opposite.
Yeah. And it's also funny, when I worked at Tesla is everyone pays full price policy. So there is no negotiation at all. And that was weird to me, because you enter a Tesla showroom and it's basically like an Apple store. You don't negotiate at an Apple
fixed
store.
price.
Yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to also ask you, when I was coming to the US, there wasn't much content around all of this. There weren't a lot of people also like falling head over heels to even, get that study abroad thing. Whereas now it's a lot more popular. There's like so many channels out there providing content, so many different sources of information. Now you kind of you enter into this information overload kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where different people might be talking about different contradicting things sometimes, and then the viewers are basically lost. And now is it more of like this guru kind of aspect where you just choose someone and then just stick to their word? Or like how do you navigate this overload of information?
Yeah. That's a great question. When I was starting to learn YouTube, which again, I have a background in with media, video production, social media, I definitely have my gurus. I've got Sean Cannell and Pat Flynn, who are my YouTube and online business gurus. I've got Brock Johnson, who's my Instagram guru. So I found people that I like, that I tend to follow. I pick out other stuff. So I think, when it comes to the study abroad space, there's so many great content channels out there. Learn from them all. Maybe you've got your favorites. My biggest advice is always, though, go to the source. People ask me, hey, Rob, what do you think about this college? I don't know. I've never been there. I didn't study there. My advice is never take advice about a college from someone who never studied there. Now, if it's a student at that college at the degree telling their experience, that's going to be a great video to watch. But if it's someone who's living on this side of the country but talking about that college, I won't listen to them. Or if someone who's some consultancy back in India but never studied in America, again, be very hesitant to learn from them. Go to the source. The best way to do that is on LinkedIn or Facebook groups. Go find the people that are at those colleges, at those degrees, connect with them, ping them, email them, have a short phone call conversation with them. That's where you're going to get the most valuable, the best information. That's why we try and cover lots of different variety of people from degrees, from universities, so you can get those holistic perspectives. But even more than our channel is go to the source. And that's where you're going to get the best data to make the best decision for yourself, for your own personal journey.
And even then, always trust but verify.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I call it triangulation.
Yeah.
When I was in India, again, how we give directions in America is very different in India. In India, it's more landmark based. And so when I was new there, trying to navigate through these cities that I didn't know the roads, and I'd at least have to get 3 people to confirm the same direction.
Yeah.
Triangulation. Once 3 people gave me the same direction, okay, that's the right way. I know I can go that way. Same thing. Once you get a couple people saying the same things, then you know that, okay, this is trustworthy. This is the real deal. I can bank on that.
Yep. All right. So, Rob, what's next for you? Where do you want to take China coaching? What are we trying to see in the next few months and years?
Yeah, I think the next way China coaching can serve the most and have the biggest impact is through courses. And that's what I'm really excited about. We've got a spring cohort going right now. We're a little over halfway through, called the Career Success Journey. It's an amazing group of students across the country learning the best ways to get jobs the right way. We cover soft skills, resumes, LinkedIn, networking, all these important things that you don't really learn at the college. And so I want to build and grow this course and make it really reproducible to reach as many people as possible, but then making other courses like LinkedIn, maybe study abroad, other things that we can really scale, reach more people, and add the most amount of value as possible to take all the knowledge I've learned and expertise that I've learned and make it available to the most people possible.
All right. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, Rob.
Simon, this has been fun too.
Always great to be in the great state of Texas.
Definitely.
All right.